Hello everybody, we are here in the new topic that is known as neurohumoral transmission in CNS. Already we have studied the neurohumoral transmission in peripheral nerves. Right? Neurohumoral means what? How two neurons are communicating by means of the chemical messengers. What we say as the neurotransmitters. Right? So here the same thing we'll be studying, but it should be included in the CNS, central nervous system. So the neurohumoral transmission in CNS will be same as that of the peripheral nervous system. That means here also, of course, we have the nerves, right? Inside the brain also we have small nerves, right? We have small. These are, we are not saying as a nerves, we are saying this one as a tract or nerve pathways. That needs to be understood, because they're very small in size. Okay, and same thing will be there here also. We have the presynaptic nerve, postsynaptic nerve, right? Synapse will be there. Neurotransmitter synthesis would be there in the presynaptic neuron, right? Storage will be there, then release will be there. Okay, everything will be similar to that of the peripheral nervous system, but we got a certain difference here. Apart from neurotransmitters also, we got certain other chemicals which is imparting a very crucial role in case of the various activities related to the central nervous system, right? And the point is why we need to study this one. Central nervous system, brain and spinal cord is a very complex process, right? So many disease, psychological disorder, schizophrenia, epilepsy, convulsions, right? Then we have general anesthetic, psychosis, right? So all these things are related to the central nervous system. All other diseases, all other various kind of another we have the Parkinson disorders, right? Movement disorders. So all are related to the central nervous system. So we need to know this kind of basics. You'll come to know when I'll just keep on forwarding the slides. You'll see so many things. And here why I have used the slide instead of this whiteboard and all, because here I need to show you so many pictures. That pictures is very difficult to draw in the board itself, and somewhat difficult to understand also. Again, let me tell you, from here you may not be getting any kind of direct questions in the examinations, maybe or may not be, but the thing is that the understanding of this concept is very essential to understand the drugs that is associated with all this kind of disorders related to the central nervous system. You must understand, otherwise a mechanism of action समझ में नहीं आएगा उसमें. ठीक है? Okay. So neurohumoral transmission in the brain, right? First one is a neurotransmission. That means what? The neurohumoral transmission in the brain can be carried out by means of various processes. The first process, we say this one is a neurotransmission with the help of the neurotransmitter. Same as that of peripheral nervous system. We already studied, right? Acetylcholine can also be a neurotransmitter in the brain. Dopamine is mainly in that CNS, right? Norepinephrine. 30% of norepinephrine would be there in the brain itself, right? So neurotransmission means what? The communication or neurohumoral transmission by the help of the neurotransmitters. This is already we studied and easy also. We know how it is synthesized, how it is released, right? Second one is the neuromodulation. Neuromodulation, we are not saying this one is a neurotransmitter, okay? Because it is neither stored or released like a neurotransmitter in the presynaptic neurons. These are released by the neurons, okay? But not essentially from the presynaptic neurons, or from that that ending of the presynaptic neurons. Getting my points? So it can be released by neurons and also by the astrocytes. The point is that what is astrocyte? है ना? The point is that what is astrocytes. So here you can okay, let me activate this one. You see, all right, okay, I think you can see that laser pointer. Just a minute. Okay, so this is what we call as the astrocytes. Okay, so astrocytes are the types of glial cells. Glial cells, you studied this one in, I think, anatomy and physiology of the nervous system, right? So the glial cells are very essential, okay, in case of formation of this central nervous system. Of course, in the central nervous system we have the nerves, but this kind of glial cells are some supporting cells. It will support. It's a kind of glue. Glial is coming from the word glue. Okay, here you can see it is holding the neurons as well as that one, the blood vessels, the capillaries. It is kind of a holding. It will hold properly. This is what we call as astrocytes. So we have astrocytes, we have oligodendrocytes, we have neuroglia, we have microglia, right? So all these kinds of glial cells we have. If you are in confusion, then refer the anatomy physiology books you'll find. Okay? So these are kind of astrocytes. So from here also that neuromodulators are secreted. Examples we have, like, you know, carbon dioxide, locally released adenosine, purines, peptides, prostaglandin, and nitric oxide. Right? So here you can see it may not be released like a neurotransmitter, but it will increase and decrease their efficacy. The efficacy of the neurotransmitter can be increased or can be decreased by this kind of, you know, neuromodulators. So this neuromodulation leads to the synaptic plasticity. So synaptic plasticity means it is a kind of biological process. Synaptic plasticity is a kind of biological process, you know, where specific patterns of synaptic activity would be there. Specific pattern of synaptic activity there, which results, you know, in changes in the synaptic strength. Okay? Some kind of modification would be there in the synapse. Some kind of modification would be there in the synapse where the synaptic activity will be increased, the synaptic strength will be increased. This is what we call as synaptic plasticity. Okay? You are doing exercise, your strength will be increased. Same way, if the synapse is getting activated for a longer period of time, okay, or if it is like, you know, the capacity is increase for a longer period of time, at one time it will arise where the strength of the synapse will be increased. For example, in case of learning and memory, if you keep on studying, what will happen? You can remember so many things, right? If you keep on studying, you can remember. If you don't study, then you cannot remember anything. That means what? If you keep on studying, the nerve synapse, those who are responsible for this learning and memory, what will happen? It will be activated more. The strength will be increased. How the strength will be increased? New synapse will be formed there, right? New, we can say, neurotransmitters, okay, or we can say new receptors will be formed there, that synapse. Getting my point? Okay? So that is why we say, you know, more and more you study, your brain will be sharp. Your brain will become sharp. If you don't study, if you don't utilize your brain for a longer period of time, your brain will become dull. So this is what we call as a synaptic plasticity. Next is the neuromediation. Neuromediation, that means what? With the help of the neuromediators. This is nothing but the second messengers. cAMP, cGMP, IP3, these things we have studied already in case of the G protein coupled receptor. These are what? These are the second messengers. So this kind of neurohumoral transmission can also be there by means of this second messengers. We'll just see in the next slides. Next we have this mediation through neurotropic factors. Okay? Neurotropic factors. So this neurotropic factors, these are released by the CNS neurons, astrocytes and microglia also. Already I told you this astrocytes, microglia are the kinds of glial cells. Astrocytes will glue, it will support, right? But this microglia is a kind of protecting mechanism. It is similar to that of the macrophages we have studied in microbiology, in pathophysiology. What this macrophages will do, it will try to engulf the antigens to try to kill the unwanted substance. Same way this microglia also will try to kill the cell debris. Certain unwanted cellular products will be produced while in case of this production of or synthesis of new neurons, as well as when the neurons are getting matured, proliferation of neurons, certain unwanted products are produced along with the certain microbes also. Then what it will do, this microglia will try to engulf, it will try to kill the microbes or the cell debris. Getting my point? So from that microglia itself, this kind of neurotropic factors are released. Okay, so what kind of neurotropic factors? Cytokines. Here you can see cytokines, chemokines, growth factors, certain nerve growth factors, insulin like growth factors, transforming growth factors, platelet derived growth factors. I think the cytokines, chemokines, then platelet derived growth factors, nerve growth factors, these we have studied in pathophysiology. They are having a very special role in case of this inflammation, in case of this protective mechanisms. Okay, but we got a special characteristic of this kind of neurotropic agents or factor, that is they are much more longer acting than the neuromodulators. Okay, much more longer acting, which help in the growth and morphology of the neurons. Getting my points? Okay, and also it is also responsible for the synaptic plasticity. Already I told you it is a biological process where certain synaptic modification would be there to increase the strength. Okay, or there is an increase in the strength of the synapse. Okay, phenotype characteristic, genotype, phenotype already you know, right? So it is acting via gene transcription via tyrosine kinase link receptor. And what is tyrosine kinase link receptor? Already we studied in case of the classification of the receptors, right? Okay. Last one is a neurohormones. Neurohormones are what? These are hormones secreted by the neurons, the part of the central nervous system, released to the blood. Then it will act on the targeted organs. For example, hypothalamic hormones. Whatever hormones are acting on our body, the basic main part from where the hormones are secreted, we studied. This is the hypothalamus. From hypothalamus it will go to the pituitary gland, right? Okay, so these are what we call as the neurohormones. So these are the process by means of which the neurohumoral transmission occurs in the brain. Okay, so the neurotransmitter activity will be same. Okay, how it is synthesized, how it is released, how it is stored, it will be same in case of the central nervous system neurons as that of peripheral nervous system. Okay, all right. So the first neurotransmitter what we have seen here on the screen, that is the acetylcholine. Acetylcholine, very important, right? Acetylcholine. Although it is peripheral, but it can be found in central nervous system also. Where it is found? Mainly in the cerebral cortex. Which one is the cerebral cortex? This is the cerebral cortex. This one is we have the cerebral cortex, right? Then ascending reticular system, cerebellum, spinal cord, basal ganglia, as well as the limbic systems. Okay, this is what we call as the cerebellum. Here you see the brain is a very complex process, complex structure. Inside the brain we have very small group of cells. Mainly we can say this one is a nuclei. Okay, nuclei means what? This is a nuclei, doesn't mean that cell nucleus or something like that. Here, especially in case of this, central nervous system. Here, nuclei means the collection of the neurons. Okay, where something will be synthesized, where any neurotransmitter can be synthesized, where any neuromodulators can be synthesized. Okay, so where it is found, ascending reticular system as well as the limbic system and basal ganglia. These three words are very important. ठीक है, एक बार देख लो ठीक से. रेटिकुलर एक्टिवेटिंग सिस्टम, same thing. Reticular system or reticular activating system is same thing, and the limbic system. ठीक है. So in case of this reticular activating system, it is a network in the brainstem. Brainstem means what? This one. ठीक है. This is what we call as the brain stem. What does it mean? Brainstem specially comprises of just a minute, एक minute. Sorry, somebody just called me, that is why I just went out. Sorry for this interruptions. Okay, so what I was telling, the brain stem, right? So the brain stem means, here we can say that medulla and cerebellum, medulla oblongata and cerebellum, it is said as a brain stem. So this reticular activating system will originate from the nerves, from this kind of cerebellum as well as medulla. Okay, this is the midbrain. Here we have the midbrain, pons and medulla. This is what we call as the medulla. Okay, so what this kind of reticular activating system does, it is responsible for the arousal, sleep, pain and muscle tone. Okay, whether you will be awake or you will be sleeping, whether you have the pain, the feeling of pain, the muscle tone, right? Muscle tone, we studied what is muscle tone, and some kind of force. If you do not do anything also, these are the things that is, we can say, coordinated by this kind of reticular activating systems. Okay, ascending fibers send signals upwards. It will send a signal to the particular area, that means to the cerebral cortex. Okay, so already I told you the maximum alertness, wakefulness, sleep, coma, these things will be looked after by this kind of reticular activating systems. Now the limbic system, why it is responsible? Okay, limbic system, here you can see, here it is originated from this one, amygdala. You can see. Okay, this is the structure of this basal ganglia, right? So the basal ganglia, amygdala, hippocampus, thalamus, hypothalamus, all other structures including this limbic system. Okay, limbic system responsible, here you can see is written, hippocampus is responsible for memory and navigations, thalamus regulation of sleep, consciousness, alertness, basal ganglia control of movements, learning, habit, cognition and emotions, hypothalamus controls of body temperature, hunger, fatigue, sleep, amygdala, you can see memory, decision making and emotional responses, right? So here I would like to mention you one thing. See, whatever in that central nervous system, we'll be studying about so many small systems. System means what? Small group of components. For example, limbic system, reticular activating system. So here also you will be finding maximum alertness, arousal, sleep. Here also in the limbic system also you will be finding the same thing, right? Regulation of sleep, consciousness, alertness, etc. So that means what? So only one system is not responsible for the single activity. All the systems are working together. Okay? All the systems are working together to provide you the optimum functions. What kind of function? It can be sleep, pain, muscle tone, arousal, learning, memory, whatever. Getting my point? So here the acetylcholine is available in the reticular activating system or limbic system or any other cerebral cortex, that basal ganglia, spinal cord also, cerebellum also, these are already available, right? Okay. So next one is the dopamine. It's a very important hormone for our we can say neurotransmitter for the I mean central nervous system, dopamine. Okay, so there are 4 pathways via which the dopamine is synthesized and distributed: mesolimbic, mesocortical, nigrostriatal, and tuberoinfundibular. Okay, these are the 4 pathways. Here you see, here you can written. So each and every organ is indicated there. You take your time. Okay, try to understand. Getting my points? In case of the mesolimbic pathway, it is originated from the midbrain, ventral tegmentum. Okay, from the midbrain. Which one is the midbrain? Around here we have this midbrain. Okay, so this is the ventral tegmental area here. From here it will be originated if it is a mesolimbic pathway. Okay, then slightly it will be continued. This one, this is the mesolimbic pathway we have, right? Amygdala, olfactory tubercle, and this septal nucleus, accumbens, sorry. Okay, so these are, see, all the organs are having small, these are the small nuclei. Okay, it's having the various functions. You don't need to remember anything, just to try to understand. This is the mesolimbic pathway, where at this point the dopamine will be synthesized and it will be circulated this way. Also the dopamine will be synthesized here and it will be circulated this way. This is what we call as a mesocortical pathway. This is a mesocortical pathway. This one is the, here you see, substantia nigra. Here, where? In the midbrain itself, right? So this substantia nigra also, it will be secreted. This is what we call as a nigrostriatal pathway. It will be secreted and it will be distributed this way. Last one is a tuberoinfundibular. From hypothalamic nuclei. Okay, from the hypothalamic nucleus. This is the hypothalamus. That means what? This one, tuberofundibular pathway. This is exactly, this one is the tuberofundibular pathway, right? So all the pathways where dopamine will circulate are having some different functions. For example, in mesolimbic, it is responsible for arousal, memory, stimulus processing, motivational behavior, right? So mesocortical, cognitions, communication, social functions, response to stress, and a nigrostriatal response to movement, right? So tuberoinfundibular, regulation of this prolactin release, the hormone release. Why you need to understand right now? Because in the later on, whenever we'll be studying the various drugs, suppose there I am telling you it will block the dopamine. Suppose the mechanism of any drugs, I am telling you as it will block the dopamine in mesolimbic pathway. That means you have to understand which one is the mesolimbic pathway. This is the mesolimbic pathway. So in that particular pathway, the dopamine blockade will be there. Okay, so that time you have to recall these things. Okay, you can make a note of this 4 pathways. These 4 pathways are, okay, the dopamine is a very important hormone, mood hormone, right? I mean neurotransmitter also. You can say this one is a neurotransmitter in the central nervous system. So the next neurotransmitter in CNS, that is the norepinephrine or epinephrine. 30% we have this norepinephrine. Okay, so where it is originated from this area, it is originated from this area. Okay, it is which area it is? This is the pons only, midbrain, pons, medulla oblongata, right? It is also known as the hindbrain. Okay, it is also known as the hindbrain. Now in that pons, exactly at this area, okay, LC, the full name is locus coeruleus. Locus coeruleus, the spelling, just a minute. Yes, now here you can see, here this is the locus coeruleus. ठीक है, where it is situated in the pons itself, right? It is situated in the pons itself, right? So it is responsible, I mean it is stimulated, or it is give its physiological response to stress and panic. Okay, it is also part of this reticular activating system. Now here you can see, here it is activating locus coeruleus, and it is slightly migrating towards the cerebellum. Okay, it is also migrating towards hippocampus, amygdala. Okay, then here you see this one, basal forebrain, cortex also, hypothalamus also, how it is moving, right? The functions are various functions it is having, for example, we have this episodic and emotional memories, wakefulness, stress response, right? Neuroendocrine functions also, wakefulness, attentions, behavior, flexibility, cognitive control. So whenever we'll be studying the different chapters, you'll come to know the individual functions in relation with the diseases. Then only you will understand properly. Okay? Here also that norepinephrine can come down to this through this dopamine, through this spinal cord also. Okay, so what it is responsible for motor and sensory functions during sleep or wakefulness, right? So these are the things that is carried out by this norepinephrine with the help of this kind of adrenergic pathways. Okay. So next we have this serotonin or 5-hydroxytryptamine. Very important. The serotonin, dopamine are very, very important. Also, of course, norepinephrine also. So you'll study everything. If there is an increase in the serotonin, decrease in the serotonin, what will happen? What kind of disease can be there, right? So the serotonin, 90% of the serotonin of our body is found in the enterochromaffin cells of the GIT. Right? We studied already. It is also a kind of what? It is also a kind of inflammatory mediators. We studied in pathophysiology, right? So only 10% will be shared by these platelets as well as the brain. The percentage is very small in a brain. Okay? So where it is found or where it is originated? It is originated, okay, from the brain stem. Now what is brain stem? Already we have just seen that one. Medulla, see this one, medulla as well as cerebellum. Okay, but including pons also, pons, midbrain. Okay, then we have this midbrain, pons, medulla and cerebellum. Okay, as well as I mean to say here in this kind of structures we have a nuclei. This is what we call as a Raphe, R-A-P-H-E, Raphe nuclei. Just I told you what is nuclei. Nuclei is a group of or the collection of neurons, okay, which is responsible for secreting something, which is responsible for activation of something. So this is the Raphe nuclei out here. Here you can see these are the Raphe nuclei. From here itself the serotonin is secreted and it will follow this kind of pathways, okay, hippocampus to the spinal cord also, to the cerebellum also, it will move to the cortex also, okay na? It will project to the thalamus also, hypothalamus, basal ganglia, okay, cortex, right? So this kind of projections will be there. So what we say this one we say as a serotonergic, because it is the serotonin. 5-hydroxytryptamine is nothing but the serotonin, right? So we say this one as a serotonergic pathway of this brain. Okay. So if in future, if in the later classes, if I tell you this drug will block this serotonergic pathway, that means you have to understand this drug or any drug will block this kind of pathways. That means the connections or the secretion of serotonin to this kind of small organs, it will be just blocking, right? That is why it needs to be remembered. So what is the main function of this kind of serotonergic pathways? Mood, memory processing, sleep, cognition, social behavior, appetite, sexual desires, right? Okay, so next one is the histamine. Same way here also we have this histamine pathway, right? Where it is secreted, histamine is secreted in the tuberomammillary nucleus. This one, tuberomammillary nucleus, here it is secreted and moving to the various organs or various places of the brain, as we have seen in the earlier cases, right? So it's having a very major role in case of this arousal, right? If you see the picture, I think you can understand. Hello. All right, so next one we have this amino acid neurotransmitter. Okay, so amino acid neurotransmitter, that means either it is amino acid itself or it is synthesized from this amino acid. Okay, so this kind of neurotransmitter can be of two types. One is the inhibitory, second one is the excitatory. I think you can remember we already studied two words, IPSP and EPSP, in case of this neurohumoral transmission of peripheral nervous system. IPSP, inhibitory postsynaptic potential, EPSP, excitatory postsynaptic potentials, right? So that means what? That means what? For example, this inhibitory neurotransmitter. So this inhibitory neurotransmitter, when it will bind with a receptor, okay, when it will bind with the receptor, there is no activation of anything. In general, what we studied, any agonist will bind with the receptor, it will cause the activation of something, so here activation will not be there. That is why it is the inhibitory neurotransmitter. Agonist will bind. Okay, that means what? This neurotransmitter is an agonist, no? So this neurotransmitter will bind with the receptor, but there is no excitation. Instead, there will be inhibitions. Okay, why inhibition? Because of this hyperpolarization. Mane resting membrane potential, we studied already, equal charge inside the cell, outside the cell. Inside this is negative, outside positive. So if there is a hyperpolarization, the negative will become more negative. Okay, negative will become more negative, then hyperpolarization will be there, and there is always inhibition. Okay, so two kinds of neurotransmitter. Okay, one more thing I must tell you, we have inhibitory amino acid neurotransmitter also, we have excitatory amino acid neurotransmitter also, right? So if there is a activation of this excitatory neurotransmitter after binding with the receptor, what it will do? Same way it will cause the excitation. So that why excitation? For any kind of activity, any kind of excitation, there has to be a depolarization of the neurons. Okay, now inhibitory neurotransmitter, GABA, gamma aminobutyric acid, in short it is said as the GABA. This is the neurotransmitter which is inhibitory in a brain, and second one is the glycine. Okay, second one is the glycine. So this glycine mainly it is available in the spinal cord as well as brain stem. Brain stem mane ki asile? Okay, cerebellum as well as medulla. All right. And excitatory neurotransmitter, we have glutamate and aspartate. Remember, again I am telling you, inhibitory neurotransmitter we have GABA, mane gamma aminobutyric acid, and glycine. Excitatory neurotransmitter we have glutamate and aspartate. Okay, so inside our brain there is a balancing of the both inhibitory as well as excitatory neurotransmitter. That is why our brain can function well. Our brains are neither hyperactivated nor depressed. Everything is balanced. Okay. So for this GABA, for this gamma aminobutyric acid, we have two kinds of receptors. One is the GABA A receptor, second one is the GABA B receptor. That means the gamma aminobutyric acid can bind with either GABA A or GABA B. Okay. Now GABA A is a inotropic receptor. That means what? We studied already. So in case of this GABA A receptor, chloride channel is combined. We studied already, right? Ligand gated ion channels. So this is the inotropic receptor or ligand gated ion channels. So ligand gated chloride ion channels. So that means in this receptor, this chloride ion will be attached. So whenever the GABA will bind with the GABA A receptor, okay, opening of the chloride channel, chloride ion will enter to the cell, and there is a hyperpolarization. So GABA B is a metabotropic receptor. That means it is a G protein couple receptor. So it is working by means of this second messengers, C, AMP or PIP2 pathways. Okay. The same way glycine also, for this glycine also we have this glycine receptor which is structurally similar to the GABA A receptor. That means inotropic chloride channel will be attached here. We'll study one by one. Okay. Now for this glutamate, the glutamate receptor, which is this glutamate neurotransmitter, okay, which is the excitatory in nature. Where it is found mainly, it is found in the cortex, basal ganglia, sensory pathways. Okay. Apart from being as a neurotransmitter, it is having another role. What kind of role? It is help in the metabolism in neural tissues. That means in case of this detoxification of ammonia in brain, it is helping. The glutamate will help. Now the synthesis of peptides and proteins, right? We know certain peptides and proteins can also work as a neurotransmitters, right? Precursors of GABA, you see this GABA, this neurotransmitter, where it is formed from this glutamate itself. We'll study in details. Now glutamate can bind with this 5 receptors, 1 2 3 4 5 receptors. Okay. Glutamate is a neurotransmitter and these are the receptors. What kind of receptors? NMDA, N-methyl D-aspartate receptors. So this NMDA is for glutamate as well as for this aspartate. Aspartate is also a excitatory neurotransmitter, but the actual physiological role, it is not identified till now. Why it is there? What is the role of this aspartate? Okay, because maximum of the function that is carried out by this glutamate itself. Also aspartate is found very less in a brain. Okay. Okay. So first receptor for both glutamate and aspartate is the NMDA, N-methyl D-aspartate. Second one is the AMPA, alpha amino 3 hydroxyl 5 methyl isoxazole 4 propionic acid. Kainate, AP4 1,2 diamino 4 phosphobutyrate. The AP4 role is not still determined. इसका क्या काम है अभी तक कुछ भी मालूम नहीं है. Research is going on. ठीक है. Now last one is the ACPD, 1 aminocyclopentane 1,3 dicarboxylate acid. ठीक है. So again I am repeating, inhibitory receptor GABA and glycine. For GABA we have receptor like GABA A and GABA B. ठीक है. Maximum of the function is carried out by GABA A. Now for glycine we have glycine receptor which is structurally similar to GABA A. Now excitatory neurotransmitter we have glutamate and aspartate. Okay, and receptors, these 5 receptors, and aspartate function is still unknown in the brain and it is also available in very less quantity. Okay, so next come to this GABA receptor. It is a major inhibitory neurotransmitter in CNS, present fairly uniformly in the brain, very little in periphery. GABA receptor is very little in the peripheral nervous system. Main activity will be there in the brain itself. Okay. Now you see the GABA is produced from this glutamate. How it is produced? With the help of this glutamate decarboxylase enzyme with the help of vitamin B6. Okay, and the GABA is we can say metabolized by means of 4-amino butyrate transaminase. Okay, see, GABA is synthesized the same way because it's a neurotransmitter. It is synthesized the same way like dopamine, like acetylcholine, like noradrenaline. That means where it will be synthesized in the presynaptic nerve. Synthesis will be there, synthesis will be there, storage will be there, and release will be there. GABA after releasing, okay, it is degraded to succinate semialdehyde. Okay, here it is degraded. Now this is a GABA A receptor. You see, this is a GABA binding site. It's a pentameric receptor. GABA receptor is a pentameric receptor. That means here we have 5 subunits: alpha, gamma, beta, alpha, beta, same way. Okay, 5 subunits will be there. Here we have GABA binding site. Here we have ethanol binding site. Here we have barbiturates binding site. Here we have benzodiazepine binding site. This is the neuronal membrane. This area we can consider as a synapse, and this is the inside of the neuron, right? So whenever the gamma aminobutyric acid, the neurotransmitter, will bind with a specific site of this GABA A receptor, what will happen? It will open. Okay, the subunits will be open. Now there is a channel. Via this channel, what will happen? Chloride will enter. If the chloride is entering, here the negative charge is increasing, right? So increase in the negative charge inside the cell, it will cause the hyperpolarization. That means there is a depression of everything. Okay. So we have special barbiturates is a kinds of drugs. We have various drugs. Those are coming under the class of barbiturates. Okay, the chemical classification. Same way of benzodiazepines. Barbiturates, we have this, phenobarbital, right? Benzodiazepine, we have this diazepam, right? Okay, so if we take this kind of drugs, there is always a depressive actions. We'll feel like sleepy. Again, we have to see if you take ethanol, the person, those who are drinking, the drunkards, क्या होता है? After taking that ethanol, they are somewhat depressed. So why it is happening? Ethanol will come and bind at a specific site of the receptor. It will open. The agonist, right? Ethanol is the agonist of this GABA receptor. Benzodiazepine is the agonist of this GABA receptor. Barbiturate is the agonist of this GABA receptors. Getting my point? In the earlier, for example, in case of this earlier receptors, we have seen in the same site the neurotransmitter can also bind as well as the drug can also bind. But here we have specific sites for the neurotransmitter as well as for the drugs itself. Okay, after binding, what will happen? It will facilitate the function of the endogenous substance. What is the endogenous substance? GABA is the endogenous substance, GABA aminobutyric acid. So whatever the GABA was supposed to do, all other things, all other chemicals will do the same thing. This is the GABA A receptor. We'll have a very huge role of the GABA A receptor, right? We'll study later on. Next one, GABA B receptor. It is found in the lower level of the CNS, which is the G protein coupled receptor, right? So what it will do, after the activation of this GCPR, there is a decrease in the CAMP. Okay, there is a decrease in the CAMP, and what will happen? Calcium conductance will be decreased, potassium conductance will be increased. That means what? Calcium will move. Calcium conductance is decreased. That means very less calcium can enter from outside to inside, and potassium conductance is increased. That means huge potassium will go from inside to outside. That means positive charge will be decreased in that intracellular place. So this is what we call as the hyperpolarization. Positive charge decrease mane ki negative charge increase, so hyperpolarization, again depressions. Okay, it is about the GABA. Next we have this glycine receptor. So this glycine is, of course, it is a semi-essential simplest amino acid, right? It is found mainly in the medulla, spinal cord, lower brainstem, also in retina. Already I told you the structure is similar to that of GABA A. Glycine receptor is similar to that of GABA A receptor. Okay, we can say this one a bit excitatory also, not exactly excitatory. I will tell you what it means. Okay. Now the strychnine is a competitive antagonist to glycine. See, same structure will be there, same chloride channel will be there, but here we have this glycine binding site. In the same glycine binding site, the strychnine can bind, which is functioning as a competitive antagonist of this glycine. So that means if the glycine is binding, what will happen? That subunits will be opening, chloride channel will enter, hyperpolarization, and finally what will happen? Deactivation of something, or decrease in something, or depression. These things should be there. Okay. Next one we have this glutamate. So what I told you, glutamate is an excitatory neurotransmitter. Okay. So this glutamate is synthesized in a presynaptic nerve by means of two ways. Okay. Via Krebs cycle from glucose. When there is a breakdown of this glucose, okay, so finally what will happen? The products will enter the Krebs cycle. So after when the products will enter to the Krebs cycle, there is a intermediate product. This is what we call as a oxoglutarate or alpha ketoglutarate. Okay. So this oxoglutarate or alpha ketoglutarate, what will happen? There is a transamination of this kind of compounds, intermediate compounds, and finally the production of this glutamate. Second, from glutamine synthesized in the glial cells. ठीक है, यहाँ पे देख लो. Suppose the first process is not mentioned here. ठीक है. Suppose मान लो यहाँ पे, maybe here also, here any places, the glutamate is synthesized from glucose. Now this glutamate will be released, है ना? The glutamate will be released, and this glutamate can bind with the glutamate receptors, NMDA receptors, example. ठीक है. After already we know the binding is not for a lifetime. The binding will be there, then again it will be dissociate from this receptor. Now finally what will happen? This glutamate will be taken up by this kind of glial cells. Now what is the glial cell? We studied already. Glue, for example, astrocyte is a glial cells, right? Oligodendrocyte is a kind of glial cells. Microglia is a kind of glial cells. So this glial cells will taken up this kind of the glutamate. So this glutamate will be converted to glutamine in the glial cell with the help of glutamine synthetase. Now the same glutamine will be actively taken up by the presynaptic nerve terminal via this glutamate transporters. Okay. This glutamine will be actively taken up, or it will move there to the presynaptic neuron. Okay. Now this glutamine will be converted again to glutamate in the presynaptic neuron via glutaminase enzyme, where this glutaminase enzyme is found in the mitochondria. Okay. So in the mitochondria, the glutaminase enzyme will be there. So what will happen? It will convert this glutamine to glutamate. Alright, so here we can see the glutamate and aspartate receptors. Already I told you aspartate role still not identified properly. So whatever the excitatory functions was there inside the brain, it is carried out mainly this glutamate. Okay, but this glutamate and aspartate can both bind with the receptors that I told you just before 2 or 3 slides. Okay. So what are the receptors we had there? We had this AMPA or kinase receptor. AMPA receptor. We had the kinase receptor. We had this NMDA receptors. We had this ACPD receptors. 5 receptors already we were just talking about, right? So AMPA receptor, kinase, NMDA, AP, as well as ACPD. Now you must understand, AP receptor function is still unexplored. Less details are available. ACPD is a kind of metabotropic receptor. That means it is a G protein couple receptor which is functioning by means of this IP3 pathway. So calcium release will be there. So that is the calcium will enter, that can cause the depolarizations, right? That means what? Positive charge will be increased inside the cell. Now main thing is that AMPA kainate or NMDA receptors. Okay. In case of this NMDA receptors, here you can see is a pentameric receptor, and here we have so many binding sites. Glutamate binding site. Here we have glycine binding site also. Magnesium binding site, zinc binding site, PCP binding site, and this same magnesium. This is magnesium binding sites. Okay. Just I told you the glycine can act as excitatory neurotransmitter also. Why I told you that things? Because for the activation of this NMDA receptor, of course glutamate has to bind. Glutamate has to bind here because this is a neurotransmitter, but along with that glutamate, small quantity of glycine should also bind here. Then only it can function properly. Function properly means what? It will open. Okay, the channel, ion channel will open because it is an ionotropic receptor. So when the ion channels will open, both calcium and sodium can enter here. Okay. In case of this NMDA receptor, when the ion channel will open after binding of glutamate and glycine, usually glycine is an inhibitory neurotransmitter, but in case of this NMDA receptor, the glycine, little quantity of glycine has to bind here, which will act as a excitatory. Very important points, remember. So finally calcium and sodium will enter, right? So what will happen? Positive charge will increase, there is a depolarization, excitations. Now the difference of AMPA or kainate along with that NMDA receptor is that here what will happen? Of course glutamate has to bind. Okay, there is no place of binding of any glycine, but here that ion channel linked is only sodium. That means in case of AMPA or kainate receptor, if there is activation of the receptor, only sodium can enter. But here in case of NMDA, both calcium and sodium can enter. It is linked with both calcium and sodium channels. Okay. So this NMDA receptors is playing an important role in adaptive and pathological changes in the brain. Okay. So if there is a normal stimulation, synaptic plasticity would occur. What is synaptic plasticity? Just I told you, okay, a few minutes before. It is helping in learning and memory. Okay, if you learn so many things, if you are sharpening your memories, then what will happen? More and more synapse will be produced there, receptor will be produced there, as well as the activity will be increased. Okay, the functionality will be increased. And if there is a pathological stimulation, okay, stimulation is beyond the normal limit, what will happen? Excitotoxicity. Okay, neurodegeneration can be there, as well as apoptosis can be there. The neurons will be degenerated and cell death will be there. Okay, so hope you understand this concept. I want you to take the pen and paper, note down everything, right? So from next class onwards, we'll be directly studying about the diseases and the drugs associated with this diseases. So that's for today. Thank you so much.